mute your phone.
A general question, but please raise your hand to so
We still have call-in user number 3, who that we need to identify properly. Again, I think that's just remedied. So thank you for that. It's 10:29 and we'll get going in just a minute. So thank you everyone for your cooperation to be available on time and to follow through all of the instructions to get us ready to call the meeting to order. And it looks like everybody right at this moment is properly identified. We believe that everybody understands how to raise their hand, which will be necessary to move second motions and vote. And so Lisa, it's 10:30 a.m.
All right.
Give me 1 second, I'll get the slides going.
You bet.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thanks everyone. My name is Lisa Bogan-Larry. I'm the president of SSA, and I'll now call the meeting, the 2020 annual general meeting, to order. And I'm pleased to confirm that quorum has been achieved with 20 out of 20 registered delegates in attendance.
Thank you.
I want to welcome everybody in attendance. These are certainly challenging times, and on behalf of the board and the staff, I want to express our sincere appreciation for the support we've received from membership this past week. We truly appreciate your patience. This has allowed us to give us space that we needed to attend to the ever-changing details. We're truly grateful for your cooperation to host the AGM through this online format. Sport has recently advised all sports that no in-person AGMs would be held until the pandemic has been resolved. We often talk about creating community through soccer, and at times like these, we feel the support from all of you. There will definitely be challenges for us before this pandemic is resolved, but I believe we'll become more united by working through this together. Our focus in the next hour is to complete the legal requirements of the annual general meeting. We hope to attend to the business at hand efficiently so we can move on to more general discussions. Our new board, our newly elected board, will be meeting online tomorrow to begin the development of a response to the pandemic. We are working closely with Sasksport and our sport colleagues in Saskatchewan, and of course Canada Soccer and our provincial and territory partners, and we will set up similar processes for working with the membership. We will host the first of these discussions following the adjournment of the formal AGM this morning. We are taking this day by day, and we don't know all the answers yet. However, you have our assurance that we will maintain our focus on serving you during this period. So I just want to note that because we're working electronically, there's always a chance for an issue to come up, which may interfere with this meeting. Should that occur, we ask for everybody to be patient, and we'll develop a process. Once we've determined that process, you'll receive an email from us, and it will outline our next steps. I want to express our sincere thanks to the director candidates who have put their names forth for your consideration in the elections, which of course will happen later in the agenda. Also want to acknowledge our regular and associate members for their dedication and effort to this past year and thank all delegates for their participation today. I'd like to say thank you to the SSA staff for all the work to allow this AGM to go forward. I know it's been hugely challenging, but I can't be more proud of all of you for being able to put all of this together and still maintain the integrity of our organization and our AGM process. So thank you so much. As mentioned, our focus in the next hour is to ensure that we attend to the formal business. And as such, I'll ask you to hold your questions that are not specifically related to the AGM agenda until the open discussion, which again is going to be held right after the AGM is completed. I'd now like to invite Executive Assistant Stephen Porter and Executive Director Doug Peterson to proceed with the roll call.
Thank you, Lisa. So what we'll do is alphabetically we'll confirm the authorized voting delegates. We'll confirm the total regular members in attendance and eligible to vote, the total eligible votes, the threshold for 50% plus one, and the threshold for 2/3 to approve and oppose. Stephen, in a minute, will put up the screen so that you can see, everyone in the meeting can see who is the voting delegates are. And this will then conclude the roll call, and the total votes and the links for the authorized voting members will be submitted to Election Buddy, and you'll receive those just prior to the vote. So at this point, any regular members joining after this point would not be authorized to vote, and we are very grateful we have 20 of 20. After this is done, then we will just acknowledge the non-voting members that are also on the call for the minutes, and then we will proceed with the business. So I will stop sharing and turn it over to Stephen Porter, and he'll walk us through the roll call, the votes, and the non-voting members who are available here. So,
can everyone see my screen?
Thank you, Stephen. Go ahead.
Can everyone see my screen?
I can.
Yes, I can see it.
Yes, we're good.
Okay, thank you. So the total, we have 20 member organizations that were properly registered and in attendance. We have 130 total votes. The percentage of 50% plus one is 66. And the percentage for 2/3 to approve is 87. And to defeat, the total required to defeat the 2/3 vote, which is only for the bylaws, is 44. Porter, do we have a good method to recognize the non-voting members on screen or no?
So I can go over here. I've greened out the people who I believe are in the meeting. So I think if we just start at the top, work our way down, and if anyone has any objections to if people are in attendance or not, we can just hear them at that time.
Okay, thank you. So first off, let's welcome special guest Warren Proctor from Saskatchewan. Thank you, Warren. Board members with us, of course, Lisa Bagan-Lurie, Vice President Jeff Hum, Chair of Nominations Leonard Luco, Chair of Governance Dave Misko, Director Derek Myers, Janelle Layton, David Burlock, Marion Schneider, Milton Ramirez, and Kelly Rawlings. Our board candidates seeking election today: Steve Patton, Andrew Kitchen, Ratan Bahia, and some of the regular member reps. These are the voting reps, Porter. So we've already shown those on the screen. So we'll just go to the other guests. Okay.
So the person's name who's in line with their organization is the voting
Okay, thank you.
delegate, and anyone below is additional guests.
All right. So anybody in white is then present, Porter?
Yeah, I haven't checked it in the last couple minutes, so I see Dave Nutt is now here.
Dave Nutt, Canada Soccer. We really appreciate your attendance today. Thank you very much. Is life member Lation here, Porter?
I don't see him.
Okay. So some of the other folks with us, Christy Baxter, Kelly Villeneuve, Kevin Holness.
The names in white are not here.
Oh, I'm
that I know
sorry.
of. The names in green are present.
Kat Huxley, Stacy Murphy, TJ Singh, Darcy Holowenko, Ginter, I'm sorry, no first name. From Kinnersley, we have Darren Johnson, Linda Pullitz. Meadow Lake, we have Ginny Niviadomi. Moose Jaw Soccer, we have Hugh Dooley. Valley Soccer, Randy Holiski, Jamie Drader, Shenley Baker. Saskatoon Adult, Scott Kohlenberg, Ifman Huerta. Saskatoon Futsal, we have Marshall Walensky, Nier Almeida, Jerson Berendica, Jaime Metza. With Saskatoon Youth, we have Amanda Proby, Michael Gramiak, Dan Cote. With Swift Current, we have Chad Stryker. And we also have a number of people from, George Rondo is here from Regina Referee Association. And we also have SSA staff in attendance. We also, of course, want to thank all of the voting delegates that have been identified. Porter, if you want to just go back one screen. And again, Kat Huxley, Stacy Murphy, Jesse Schwartz, Cheryl McGrath, Jordan LaValle, Raylene Gilroy, Kevin Wagner, Jordan Jeffrey, Namdi Nduka, Chris Bailey, Daniel Moore, Ryan Shillingford, Sheldon Matthews, Tiago Prado, Mark Millard, Dale Perry, Peter Morris, Cam Hool, Jason Roy, Michael, Jakubiak. Thank you. Are there any other delegates that are on the line that we have not recognized or quite captured? And if so, please unmute and identify yourself. Hearing none, Porter, you can stop.
Sorry, Doug.
Oh, sorry.
Kelly from Battleford is with Kat from what I have in the chat here, and Terry Ginter with FC Regina is also on the line.
Thank you very much. Porter, I'll take the screen back if that's the case. And if anybody comes on late, then maybe we can capture them somehow if they identify themselves. Or Leanne, if you see some people come in late, you could ask them to put their name in the chat.
Doug, I don't think we captured Jerry Miller in there.
I'm sorry?
Jerry Miller from Melfort. I don't think we had him on the list.
I have him in green.
He was.
Sorry, sorry, Jerry. Thank you very much, Lara, for that. With that, I'm going to go to turn it over to Lisa. Sorry, I'll do the logistics first, and then we'll turn it over for Lisa. Again, in order to participate, sorry, I got to share screen. My apologies. People have my screen again?
Yes.
So you can see the call to order slide, Porter?
Yes.
Okay. So in order to participate in any voting matters, you must be an authorized voting delegate. We've just clarified those folks. Very excellent internet connections, and everybody's been quiet, so that's fantastic. Thank you. We will use raise hand, and Leanne and the chairs will help to identify who's raised their hand. And we hope that goes well. We'll use the raise hand to make a motion, second a motion, enter into discussion, and then also confirm all in favor, opposed, abstain. So obviously for a majority vote, 50% plus one, we have that total. Porter, which is what again? I apologize, 66?
Correct,
and
66.
And the total for 2/3 is 87 and opposed 44, is that correct?
Correct.
Again, elections will be managed by Election Buddy software, and you will receive links prior to the election. The chair will ask on any motion that you raise your hand to support the motion. They'll acknowledge verbally the person that made the motion for the minutes. Then we'll ask for a seconder to raise hand and acknowledge the seconder. We will invite discussion by raising your hand to be recognized, mute to speak, and then when the chair has recognized you, you speak, and when you're done, you'll remute. We'll call for the vote, all in favor using raise hand, and then we'll ask for opposed. If there is substantive opposed, we'll have to do a count to determine if the motion is carried or defeated. For a 2/3 majority motion, abstentions count as opposed. And so if there are any abstentions in that vote, we'll have to deal with that at that time. I believe we're ready to proceed with the order of business, Lisa.
All right. So next up is the approval of the minutes of the 2019 annual general meeting. So I'll ask for a member to raise their hand to move the approval of the minutes of the 2019 annual general meeting as presented. And we have AVD Huel from Valley to acknowledge. And then I will ask a seconder, and I think we have Jubiak as that seconder. Okay. Any errors or omissions from this time? All right, hearing none, I'll now call for the vote. So please raise your hand if you are in favor. All right. I think that's everybody, so I don't need to do.
That looks good, Lisa.
All right. All in favor is carried. Thank you. Next up is the approval of the agenda. Again, I'll ask for an approver to raise their hand. We have Prince Albert.
Pardon, position of, I guess, procedure, new business. Is there a section for new business?
We did not have any submissions for new business. So
When was that call out?
New business proposals are matter for the bylaw. We don't actually call for it, Ryan.
So there's no slot on here to talk about this COVID thing. I just think I have an ask from our organization that I think should be maybe a little bit of a discussion here, and to see what the other members of the association, to ask the board to look into a couple things if potentially possible.
So
Ryan, because that's not a matter of the business of the AGM, we are having the discussion afterwards. So we absolutely intend on addressing COVID in that time. So you'll be able to ask questions after the AGM.
Okay, so we can't give you direction. Is that what you're saying?
Direction?
Potentially,
Sorry?
yeah. Yeah, potentially direction. Mine kind of surrounds what other people are doing in the fees. So I think it is pertinent to this meeting, but that's just me.
So again, according to the bylaws, there could be no business, and according to the Nonprofit Act, can be no business at an AGM unless it's received 90 days in advance and circulated to the membership 15 days in advance. So we will be glad to hear from membership during the open discussions later, but as far as formal AGM, there can be no formal direction given.
Okay, well, okay, sounds good, thanks.
We'll be happy to hear everybody out afterwards, though, Ryan. So, all right. So we had an approver, which was PA, and a seconder, please. Sorry, did I miss that? Okay. Battleford, the seconder.
And so I'll just check in with Lara. Are you able to keep up with the minutes if at this point in terms of who's seconding and making motions?
Yes, I am. Just a reminder, though, that Lisa, please ask people to lower their hands after between calls, because there's a lot of people still hands up.
Thank you, Lara. And Lisa, if you can read the last name for sure in the organization on each mover and seconder. Thank you.
All right. I was totally bypassing that because there was some last names that I was not comfortable reading out loud. So, but thank you. I will definitely make a conscious effort to read them out. Meridian, I'll ask you to lower your hand, please. Thank you. And I apologize if I butcher anybody's last names while trying to identify you. Any discussion, errors, or omissions? All right, I'll now call for the vote. Please raise your hand if you're in favor of the approval of the agenda. All right. Motion is carried. Thank you. I offer the membership, the report of the board of management, which is contained in the AGM package. And again, we'll welcome discussion after the AGM is adjourned. I'll now invite Chair of Audit and Finance, Leonard Luco, to present the audit.
Thank you, Lisa. So, as approved by membership at the 2019 annual general meeting, SSA acquired the services of KPMG to conduct an audit of our financial operations for the fiscal period January 1 to December 31st, 2019. The Audit and Finance Committee is responsible to monitor the financial processes of the SSA on a monthly and annual basis. We provide ongoing oversight to ensure that we maintain the highest standards of financial accountability. I want to thank our committee members, Lisa Baganleri, Marianne Schneider, Godwin Isizor, and 3 external experts, Christy Baxter, Jeanette Cook, and Kevin Kobialka, for their guidance this past year. Management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements according to the standards established by the board in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. In addition, SSA is required to meet all standards set by Sask Lotteries Trust for sport, culture, and recreation, as outlined in the guidelines for the preparation of audited financial statements for provincial sport governing bodies. As confirmed by the independent auditor's report, we are pleased to report that for the 7th year in a row, we have received an unqualified audit opinion. This supports that the financial statements are free from material misstatements and there are no material findings on reporting or performance objectives or non-compliance with standards. When the board and our Audit and Finance Committee assess the performance of management, one of the strengths has been financial management, and in particular the development of a sustainable financial model. 2019 resulted in a planned deficit budget. We have advised the executive director to invest our growth, grow our capacity to serve members better long term. Using our reserves, we are continuing to invest and project deficit budgets again in 2020 and 2021. In light of the COVID-19 emergency, the board will meet with management to determine contingency plans should there be significant delays to summer soccer. We will be looking at all aspects of our operation and budget to determine how best to respond if timelines for getting back to normalcy are extended. Until a new board is in place, we have met with management. Until a new board is placed and we have met with management, we will not speculate any further about what this may look like at this time. Despite recent events, there is soccer yet to be played. Soccer is a critical element in our community that promotes health and well-being, and we will be preparing to ensure that we are ready to support all members once this pandemic has subsided. With your continued support, we will get the game back on its feet, and we're confident that we will see continued success in the years ahead. With that, I would call for a motion to approve the audit for the fiscal year 2019 as presented. And I see Ryan Shillingford and as a mover, Dale Perry as seconder from Swift Current.
Sorry, Leonard, just a second. Ryan, did you have your hand up for another reason?
It's fine. That's fine. I can make the motion for that. It's okay.
Did you have something else you wanted to say though?
Well, we'll deal with that under discussion.
Okay.
So we need the mover and seconder first. I believe you have that, Leonard?
So Ryan was the mover and Dale Perry the seconder. So So now I'll open up the floor for discussion or questions.
Raise your hand, please. Wagner, Meridian. Morris, TD Soccer.
You'll have to unmute to talk.
Go to Gilroy from Meadow Lake. Do you have a question?
No, sorry.
All right. We have a guest from SASI, Kohlenberg.
Yes, thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, so my question, or maybe it's a two-parter, but I'll try and stick to one at a time. My first question is just in regards to kind of what you've mentioned there in projected deficits, but kind of overall long-term sustainable plan. What kind of can you speak to or add color around in regards to how we get to that sustainability? My concern particularly as well is for the sustainability of our MO and other MOs as we see that steady trend in decline in member registrations. I don't know that I see anything that indicates that there's anything in regards to that trend being curbed. And now potentially we face an increase in insurance costs, which reflects about a 12.5% increase to our members. And I flip through the financials and I see a 10% year-over-year increase in SSA salaries. Not that there aren't good people there, but I just was hoping you could add a little bit of color in regards to what we're talking about in terms of sustainability. Is it the MOs that are going to be getting SSA back to balance, and what capacity do you see the MOs having to be able to support those increased costs at SSA when we face declining memberships and increased costs?
So Doug, do you want to tackle that?
Sure, thank you. So again, there's definitely some trends that we've been monitoring, and declining registration has been a big issue for sure. But we have developed budgets to project around that, and then we adjust our budgets, our expenses accordingly, depending on how those registrations continue to grow or decline over time. So overall, our registration was up this year, just slightly, as reported in our AGM report. Our adult totals are down significantly. We had a decline in referees, which were down predominantly to a rather unusual year, the previous year, where we had 60 more referees than we had. So we're pleased that in general, overall registration is slightly up. It's certainly not a trend that we can bank on, but we adjust for that in our financial forecasting. Adult is an issue, for example, that is a very significant concern. And in additional meetings, when we plan and discuss with membership, which we'll talk about later this afternoon, we'd like to sit down and certainly direct our energies around that. And we've built our operational plan in 2020 and 2021 accordingly. We're obviously hoping for some growth coming out of futsal, minor growth out of walking soccer potentially, but definitely the trends and concerns in adult are very significant. And one of the areas specifically, for example, where we know there's concerns, and we're already working with Saskatoon Adult and Saskatoon Referees Association, is related to refereeing. So, we have many things planned, but later in the afternoon, we'll talk more about how we can interact better to identify and coordinate those activities with memberships so that we can grow and manage a sustainable budget. But make no mistake, we have reserves, and we're utilizing those in the short term to keep us in an investment strategy. but we operate sustainable budgets, and as the future goes, and of course dealing with what we're dealing with now, we will certainly prepare for and address that in our expensing, if as necessary, if registration declines or if there's significant impact this year. So I hope that answers your question, and we would be glad to talk in more detail about that later this afternoon when we start to outline some of our thinking, and we want to hear more from you about those things. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that kind of spoke to some of it. I was just hoping you could maybe expand the considerations related to the sustainability of the member organizations, as obviously we play a pretty significant portion of the sustainability of SSA. What considerations do you kind of give in terms of your sustainable model in regards to how that will affect the sustainability of other organizations? Because again, our concern is 17% decline over 5 years, 5% decline over the last year for our organization. That reflects 1,000 members or more. And I don't think we're alone in that regard. So can you speak to how moving forward, SSA's sustainability will also mean sustainability for other member organizations that frankly are in a struggling spot?
Yeah, for sure. Again, we have a very comprehensive strategic and operational plan, and I can't speak into every detail of that on this call, and we'd be glad to do some more of that. And we haven't planned like we would at a normal AGM to do all of our strategic updates and our detailed planning, because of course some of our energy was diverted to just prepare for the virus pandemic that we're responding to, and also to just switch to an online AGM without education sessions. So later this afternoon we'll talk about what our interactions look like going forward. But really the strategic plan is dependent. We have 31 priorities, and 26 of those 31 are really dependent on member success for SSA to continue to be successful. The two are one and the same, and we will be working comprehensively in terms of promoting the game, developing our strategies for competitions, developing strategies for refereeing and coach development, and significant work on club licensing, making sure our members organizations are in the best position to serve their members well. Obviously, engagement of members, listening to the participants through surveying and communicating that results back to membership and into our planning. In 2021, we will be doing the comprehensive strategic planning, which will be our really a time to sit with membership and look at what's happening and find out how we redivert energies accordingly. So I'm not sure I can be any more specific than that on the call. Ultimately, SSA works with membership and through our execution of the strategic plan to try to help membership to be successful and the whole growth of the game to be successful. So I hope that satisfies, and I appreciate your questions. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions? Okay, we have a motion and a seconder. Can I ask all in favor of the motion? Please raise your hands now. Okay, can you lower your hands?
And I saw that we had one guest that raised their hand. So again, please a reminder that only voting delegates can raise their hand to vote for a motion. That motion was...
okay, is anyone opposed to that motion?
I believe we had them all, Leonard.
Okay, motion is carried.
Thank you.
I'll move on to the appointment of auditors. So as part of the Audit and Finance Committee's responsibility to the board, we make recommendations regarding the firm to manage the audit. In 2019, we completed an RFP for audit services, and Vertis Group was successful. Vertis Group is a well-respected firm which provides audit services to many sport organizations and SAS Sport. Just for information, the RFP was sent to 6 accounting firms, including the incumbent KPMG. 3 firms bid on the service, and the Vertis Group was a successful candidate. With that, I would request a motion to accept Vertis Group as the auditors for the 2020 financial year. And Tiago makes that motion, and the seconder, Sheldon, from Sheldon Matthews. Okay, can you lower your hands now? A mover and a seconder. And I'll just invite any discussion on Vertis Group as the auditors.
Hi, this is Wendy from Meridian Soccer. I just have a question on your criteria for your RFP.
Okay.
What is your balance for cost versus general criteria on qualifications?
Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, so we as one of the larger sports, sort of restrict ourselves to the larger firms. So we had 6 firms engaged in the audit on recommendation of SAS Sport for a lot of the groups that they work with. Out of that, we had the three largest firms in Regina, KPMG, MMP, and Vertis Group come in. And we've worked with MMP prior to it, and KPMG has been our group recently, and then Vertis Group has been recommended to you folks today. While cost is a factor in terms of determining, in fact, we will have some savings realized because of the RFP. Obviously, the experience and the ability for and the reputation of the company is the biggest criteria that the Audit and Finance Committee recommends the board on. So Vertis Group was successful both in terms of their reputation and also on price in terms of the RFP. I hope I've answered your question, Wendy.
So do you use a point system with procurement then, or do you use a percentage system in regards to the marking of it? I'm just curious how, if you did an RFP and 3 people responded, if they came back and questioned why they weren't selected, like, is there a point system that you can debrief them on?
It's just an overall application, so we have detailed criteria outlining what our needs are in terms of meeting SAS Sports expectations, the Nonprofit Act expectations, and the expectations of the board for the review. So overall, it's not done in a scoring model. The Audit and Finance reviews the submissions and looks at them and makes a determination based on the overall model. We're glad to share the format of the RFP if anybody is interested, and we have that available for people, but we didn't do it on a strict scoring system.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just add to that. We did speak to 2 other firms in Saskatchewan that are using Vertis Group in detail, so we're pretty comfortable. All 3 of the firms that actually bid on this would be able to do the job, and we're quite comfortable with Vertis Group as the auditors for this coming year. Okay, further questions? We have a motion. Can I ask for all those in favor of the motion to raise your hands? Okay, I think that's everybody. Can you lower your hands now? And I'll just ask for opposed. And just give me a second here. And anyone opposed to the motion?
We have a hand up still from Kinnersley. Sorry, there it's done. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, any opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. I'll turn the meeting back to Lisa.
Thank you, Leonard. I just want to apologize to the members. I was switching screens and my mouse is scrolling in advance here, so my apologies for that.
All right. Thanks very much, Leonard. So at this time, I'll call on Dave Misko, the Chair of Governance, to present the amendments to the bylaws.
Good morning, everyone. A primary responsibility of our committee is to assist the board in developing, implementing, and reviewing the bylaws for our organization. Firstly, I would like to thank the committee for their hard work this past year. Thank you to Kelly Rollins, Derek Myers, Godwin Azizor, Janelle Layton, Monica Dieters, Lisa Bagan-Leary. And we also had an external expert in Peter Krebs who assisted us this past year. So this year, we do fall, as we do each fall, we engage members in the bylaw amendment process. And in 2019, there were no amendments submitted by membership and no feedback on the amendments that were proposed by us this past year. So as per SSA bylaws and amendments before you today were circulated to membership 30 days in advance of the AGM. And as per Article 11.1.1, bylaw amendments must achieve a 2/3 majority vote to be approved, as was outlined earlier in the meeting. So the total votes to defeat this motion is 44, as was outlined earlier. So based on the amendments that were proposed, I need a motion. So would you please, or would a mover, so would you please raise your hand if you would be willing to move? Thank you, Gilroy from Meadow Lake. And a seconder would be Roy from Weyburn. Thank you both. At this time, I would like to open this up to any discussion, if there is any. If you have discussion, please do so by the raising of your hand. Okay. Yes, I acknowledge Mark Millard from Saskatchewan. Please, please advise us of your discussion.
Are you going to be doing a blanket vote regarding all the bylaws as one motion and as one vote?
The motion, the motion that was moved and second is to approve the amendments to the bylaws as presented as a whole.
Okay. Yes, we have an issue with 3.2.5, which is you trying to restrict us from taking disputes to the ordinary courts of law. Apparently, this is a right granted to members by the Saskatchewan Not-for-Profit Act and Regulations. Can you please explain this?
I'll get 3.255 up here.
Thank you, Doug.
So this requirement 3.2.5 is a requirement of membership in Canada Soccer. It comes down from FIFA. The wording comes to us as an item that
we can't see that on the screen. Is that where you supposed to be showing us?
I'm not working from the screen. I'm working from my other
Okay.
screen. So 3.2.5, everybody should have their working papers. So the clause inserted in their bylaws, you can see this direction comes from Canada Soccer, that all members shall have the following clause inserted in their bylaws. So this is a clause that's not new to SSA. It's a controversial clause. In fact, it's been changed the last 4 years in a row. The direction is very clear. It comes from FIFA, and that mandate then goes to Canada Soccer and comes down to us. So it's been a subject for debate for the last 4 years. And what it's saying is that you shall not take any disputes before you work through the remedies of the association, including all the way up to the top to an independent arbitration tribunal. So that's the rationale for it. I'm not sure what other background I can provide, but that is a requirement of us to have that accepted into our bylaws.
Okay. Next question. Section 4.1.3, the new bylaw allowing you to suspend membership pending a hearing and to suspend a member convicted of a criminal offense. Are these not things that can be actually, these infractions are not able to be made by the participant members who fall under their own governing organizations?
They are, and the fact that we have them in our bylaws then implicates the members to make sure that they meet that standard. So ultimately, we have our own standards for provincial level, and we have our own members, right? And you, as do you. So our standards that come, again, this requirement comes from Canada Soccer, from the Discipline code and from their bylaws. So we are just amending to make sure we keep current with the requirements that are coming to us from Canada Soccer. This has been in our policy for a while, but now it's been brought up to the bylaw level as recommended through CSA.
Does this not, though, give you technically the right to immediately suspend membership pending a hearing for any member, including SYSI?
It does, yes.
Okay.
But in this case, we're talking about, at the bottom, you had mentioned the criminal offense piece. That's obviously for individuals. The board has always had the authority to suspend membership. The board is solely responsible for membership in the association. But we are obviously confirming the process by which that occurs through this policy.
Thanks, Doug. Mark, anything else?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Darcy from FC Regina.
Darcy, you're muted.
Okay, well, we'll move on. Oh, there you go.
Okay, sorry. Between my phone and the PC, I can't figure out what's actually controlling the mute.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to jump back quickly here to the document. Okay, just a quick question on section 325 again. The way I read the amended section is not that you have to avail yourself of all of the remedies within the organization before going to the courts. It says you can't go to the courts.
Again, the wording.
And if we're, sorry, go ahead.
The wording is quite specific, coming to us from Canada Soccer, and comes from FIFA. That is FIFA's expectation. And as far above my head to comment on that further, and these are conversations, again, have been going on for about the last 4 years. This all comes from problems that occurred in Alberta and other parts of the world, and FIFA took their remedies, and at the end of the day, the language is provided to us by Canada Soccer.
Okay, I guess my point was to clarify the language, because it sounded like members would still have an opportunity to avail themselves of ordinary courts. What happens if, when we include this section in, because it's asking for us to include the section in our bylaws as well, right?
Yes.
What happens if that gets voted down in our AGM?
Well, again, just like if it was voted down, if we don't pass this today, then Canada Soccer will take steps to notify us that potentially good standing is revoked. And that would be the same for all membership. It comes down from FIFA to Canada Soccer, down from us to you, and has implications for your member organizations. And that's the hierarchy of governance in soccer in the world. It is a controversial piece. I've worked on it again nonstop for 4 years, trying to get acceptable language in place and understanding the concerns of membership, which are significant and real. But at this time, I don't know what to recommend except for approval of the language.
Okay, I was wanting to clarify a bit of the information and make sure I had the right understanding. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Darcy. Sheldon Matthews?
Yeah, my question is a clarification on that 3.2.5 is that it says must be done by December 2020. So it says by December. Our AGM isn't until late December. So can we actually officially do that? Like, I just need clarification on that.
So, sorry, what's the date of your AGM?
Well, it's not exactly that, but it's late December.
Yeah, so that, again, just understand that unless we unless the members will not align and put this in place, unless somebody makes a complaint up to Canada Soccer, it's very unlikely that Canada Soccer or FIFA or anybody else would pay attention to that in particular. So we expect your cooperation with this amendment, and we will monitor as best we can, but just do your best to hit the target, and if there's any issues with it, Sheldon, either let us know, or and we'll work through that as that comes. But certainly this notion about the clause being asserted into the bylaws of the members was controversial at CSA, and at the end of the day, the province has basically approved the bylaw at the CSA level, because otherwise Canada Soccer could be in jeopardy of losing their status with FIFA. So do your best, and just let us know if there's any issues or anything we can do to help with that, Sheldon.
Thanks, Doug. Sheldon, is there anything else further?
No, that's good clarification. I'm not in favor, but that's another point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Shillingford?
Okay, so I guess getting back to 3.2.5, it seems like there's quite a bit dissent towards this clause. I'd just like to ensure that it's recorded in the minutes, and I'm going to put our name on it, because I just don't think we agree with this language per se. We've done a lot of work in the last few years, and we felt it was pretty good last time, the way that it was for the time being. So I would just, if anyone else wants to write on, I think FC Regina takes dissent to this point in general. Just I would like it copied in the minutes. And if anyone else would like to jump on that, I'd encourage them, if they want to, they can.
And so Ryan, thank you for that. And so is there some expectation that something will occur from that other than the minutes? Or, because I mean, I can tell you that, again, I've been working on this clause for 4 years with Canada Soccer, and it's been talked about multiple times. We've amended it multiple times, as you're quite aware of, right? Well, and the reality is CSA has made a bylaw that impacts us all. So I just want to understand what you'd like us to do after that with that dissent.
Okay, so first of all, I think it gets lost if we don't have it recorded in some fashion that there's dissent.
I have no problem with that at all.
Secondly, is that I think that this province needs to continue to champion what they think is right for their members, and I would assume that, like, it's really tough to push things, especially when it comes to complaint procedures and things like that. For bylaw amendments, it just handcuffs processes, and it's just not effective. And I'm pretty sure that's been the conversation at the Canada Soccer level. The issue I think comes down to is that I think at times, and all of us will sit here, is that I think we overall agree with the system in its entirety, but there's a lot of politics at play, and there's a lot of other things, but it's not always right for especially small members like all of us are in Saskatchewan. When it comes to things, these processes take a lot of money, and even the courts take a lot of money to drive these processes. So
yes, for sure.
we need a lot of flexibility to try to solve things without going to those lengths. And so I think sometimes Canada Soccer doesn't look at it through how it's going to affect the end user lens. And that's how I'm kind of going about this, is I think we just need to keep pushing them to say, look, the more you put in on this, the more in bylaw type stuff, not policy based, it handcuffs your member organizations to have to act in a certain way, and it's not productive.
I would agree with you, and I can assure you that we spoke up very loudly about this being language in the bylaws rather than keeping it in the policies, as you and I have talked about in the past, Ryan. And I thank you for your comments. And Lisa and myself and other board members will represent this voice of dissent to CSA. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to be clear that I don't know that it's going to have an impact. But I thank you for your comments.
And secondly, too, just another, it's a small point, but like going back to what Sheldon was saying about having to have this in by December 20th, we don't, like, hard deadlines like that kind of don't really work. You could always just say something in the future for if you want to change something you need done in a certain time by the next member organization's annual general meeting or whatever, however process it is to pass bylaws. It's just it's really like, again, it's handcuffing, like Sheldon said. So what happens if they don't pass anything until after that meeting, and then something does go sideways and it goes up to Canada Soccer? Now they're in contravention of their bylaws and getting potentially disciplined and all that kind of stuff. So it would just be easier to give the flexibility to, when, because all member organizations have different meeting times and whatnot, just to kind of say, like, by their next AGM, and we report every year to you guys with our AGM minutes anyway, and our bylaw additions and all that. So
thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. Thank you for that.
I do have one more point on 4.2.
Okay.
So 4.2 talks about this criminal code offenses, which I think it's good to really talk about that kind of thing. My issue becomes double standard, and so the issue for me would occur when so say a member has a criminal record from 1982.
Yeah.
And is this going to be retroactive to all members, like all basically everyone who has an SSA membership, who's essentially every single person in the that gets registered with the SSA, or is this directly specific to new people after this, or like how is that going to work? I guess how is it going to function?
So again, I'll speak to this one, and Lisa can represent that this was a matter of discussion. The wording at Canada Soccer, for example, it does not take into account the word pardon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I spoke up very assertively in opposition to this particular wording, but that the powers that be determined that that's the language they wanted to have at the CSA bylaw level, and then of course our policy has to align so that we're not out of sync with the discipline standards going up the governance hierarchy. So I would suggest that this policy refers to any person, as the wording says, convicted of a criminal offense under the code. Now,
I'll give an example.
So just give me a second. Yeah. We have no mechanism to determine that at our level, for example, and of course you guys would be doing that, and only people that are volunteering for roles where they have to get criminal record checks with this impact, because we wouldn't know about anybody else unless somebody reported that. But again, I'm available to hear your comments.
Well, and this would be my example. So like we have a little bit of trouble finding people to do all sorts of different volunteer work, and I'm not condoning a person that has a criminal record, but I also know that there's been issues and instances where I know people who are really good people and really just had a lapse of judgment when they were younger, and they're now 40 years old, but when they were 18 they did something stupid. So I guess from my perspective is, because these bylaws were, as MOs, supposed to it's kind of like the lead for us, so we're supposed to adopt these principles and these types of clauses. So the example for me would be a coach. Say he's 4 years old, he's coaching his kids. Now he's a new coach to the organization, and we do a criminal record check, and he says he has a say something like a theft charge or something that's out the criminal code that's really minor in instances, but that was 20 years ago. He just hasn't had a pardon or anything like that, and he doesn't have the $2,000 to get the pardon. Why would we turn away a productive member of a potential soccer community because of something that happened 20 years ago? I guess that's the argument that I have with it, and again, it's another piece that's handcuffing organizations sometimes in their operations, coming from the top, that they don't actually understand how we work as individual organizations. It might be the only soccer coach in one of the smaller communities here, but and then what happens if that you turn a blind eye, and then someone gets stupid and decides to look into this, and now you're into a whole other process that's really not really good. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate your perspectives, and again, as I said, we spoke up against this particular wording, and it was approved in any event. Canada Soccer, sometimes their wording is not as precise as I would like, and you know, I think there probably are mechanisms if push comes to shove for somebody as a partner who wanted to push this, but they weren't dealt with at the time that they were approved at the CSA. So I can't speak on that specifically directly, but what I would say is if any member is impacted by that, then please let us know. And then we will try to assure that maybe CSA revisits to see that we have proper mechanisms and maybe the wording gets amended in the future. But that's my comment for the moment, Ryan.
Okay, thank you very much, Doug.
Thanks, Doug. Ryan, anything further?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dubuka from Prince Albert.
Thank you. Sorry for taking it back. I still have a concern about the new Article 4.1.3. I think I just see that there might be a potential for confusion, because I know ordinarily MOs would also have the responsibility to enforce some of its policies around complaints or even issues around assault of match officials or any other serious infraction. So one of the responses that you had given to, I think the other speaker who spoke on this earlier, is that the SSA would also have jurisdiction to suspend any of such officials at the local level. So I think there has to be some wording here that will also ensure that there is some coordination here. You know, the local MO already have this responsibility within its governance. So I'm not really sure how this will play out at the SSA level.
So what we've put in place here is that SSA has always had authority to independently suspend from membership prior to a hearing anybody that's accused of assault of an official. Again, that requirement comes down from Canada Soccer. We've added the organizer into that, and that we have actually more authority to support the member, and we have obviously a little bit more weight than the member organization. So we're not trying to interfere with that process. In fact, we think that's a responsibility that the province has, and that's what we're trying to outline here.
Thank you, Doug. Anything further there on that point, on that question?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Kohlberg from SAS.
Yeah, thank you. So just, I wanted to maybe speak into where I think why we would raise and where we would expect kind of dissent on 3.2.5 to go. I hear what you're saying in that it comes from FIFA and CSA down to SSA. So, you know, we could have a status revoked if we don't do it. So it's kind of, we have to take it. But I don't take for granted that if this is passed, that our board in Saskatchewan Adult Soccer, or, you know, from what I'm hearing in with FC Regina, I don't take for granted that even if it's passed here, that our board will have an appetite to put it through, and other MOs might be in the same spot. So rather than SSA being in a circumstance where they have to deal with all these MOs that are facing a revoked status and negotiate with that, you know, if the appetite at the MO level is that we're not comfortable with this at this time with this language, we would rather have SSA as a body represent Saskatchewan MOs and go to CSA and say, you know what, there's some issues. A lot easier for you to have that dialogue with CSA about where we're at and what our concerns are, which I understand that you've been having. But, you know, there's the legal professional that's a part of our board. I expect that he's going to recommend that we don't waive our legal right to resolve things through the judicial system. And I also don't know, I don't have any color or detail around what an independent, duly constituted arbitration tribunal means. and what the process is around that. So there's a lot more information that I think even our organization and other MOs need to understand before we can even have the comprehension to feel confidently on what we're approving. And you know, it doesn't make sense for us as you know, logical people, as prudent, diligent people looking out for our MO, to come back to our organization and say, well, we didn't understand this. We thought it was vague. We had concerns, but we didn't have a choice. That doesn't reflect good due diligence on our part, and that doesn't reflect us taking our responsibility in representing our organization appropriately.
Thank you for your comments. Again, I'm not sure what I could say further, but as part of a system, if Canada Soccer wants to be part of FIFA, they have both responsibilities to their membership and obligations to their governance body. Same occurs with Saskatchewan Soccer, and the same occurs at the member organization to and from Saskatchewan Soccer. So a lot of these things are compromises and negotiations, and sometimes the authority that's above wins the war, and sometimes the language that you would like and is not quite what you end up with. If there was a CSA authorized rep on the call, I'm sure they'd have some more clarity for this. But at the moment, all I can advise is what we're doing our best to make sure that we meet our standards, so that, you know, we can maintain membership in Canada Soccer, which allows our athletes to be involved in all the Canada Soccer programming, and really it's our status as a provincial governing body so on the line. So we've done our best, and this, I guess, without getting into too much detail, this bylaw has actually been in place for 4 years in a similar way, just with slightly different wording. And so I guess I'm, you know, I appreciate the comments, and I've been working tirelessly for 4 years to try to deal with these types of things. But you know, I think I've said what I needed to say, and I'm not sure what else there is to say on that topic. So thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Lara, I see your hands up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just to comment to the members who raised concern about the conviction of criminal offenses. Currently, our policy, formal complaints policy, section 4, specifies the types of offenses or convictions that may result in expulsion. So these include child abuse or child pornography offenses, sexual offenses, offense of physical or psychological violence, offenses of assault, and offense involving trafficking of illegal drugs. So that's not just a blanket of any criminal conviction. There is specificity within the policy. So just wanted to clarify that for members.
Thank you, Lara.
Thanks, Lara. Dooley from Queen City.
Yeah, just a couple questions. With regards to what Lara just brought, that brings some clarification to it. I was just wondering, because the word pardon got brought up. If someone has a pardon for whatever offense, then that won't necessarily show up on a criminal record check, and we have no right to ask if you have a pardon.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, because that's a legal right that people with pardons don't have to answer that question.
Right.
Next question, just a comment with regards to the going through the process, the item that everybody's discussing here on the lawsuit issue. I take this as being something where it's just saying go through the processes, and then if it's still not there, then sue. And I think everybody's looking at it as well from a situation as a member organization going towards SAS Soccer, let's say, and they're unhappy with them. But this also can protect you from a member who wants to attack you with frivolous lawsuits.
Yep.
Comment. Thank you, Hugh.
Thank you, Hugh. Sheldon, I see your hands up.
Yeah, with all the discussion around 3.2.5, I'd like to make a motion that 3.2.5 is voted on separately, apart from the other bylaws.
So Dave, you have amendment, if you have a motion before you, you would need a motion or a seconder for that amendment.
Yeah, I'll need a seconder. I just feel like with all the discussion around it, it's hard to, there's a lot of the bylaws that you guys have made changes to that I agree with, that I wouldn't mind voting in favor with, but some of these that are very controversial, I think it's just in our best interest to vote on them separately.
Okay. So
I would ask for a seconder if anyone agrees.
is Ryan, are you seconding that?
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, now to open up for discussion, correct?
Yes, it will. I'm just going to let them get caught up here.
Okay, so I'm just capturing it on the screen, just the intent of it. Blair will be documenting it properly in the minutes.
Okay.
And so we have a proper mover and seconder with Shillingford.
So is there any further discussion on, or any discussion on having this motion voted on separately? Ryan, is your hand up because you're seconding, or do you have points for the discussion? Thank you. Hugh, is your hand up for discussion?
Yeah, I'm for discussion. So by taking this out and voting on it separately, and I understand everybody else's concerns, if this is voted down, we're immediately potentially suspended from the CSA. Correct, Doug?
Well, I can't tell you what they're going to say to it. I'm not sure. But
they could go there.
But they could certainly fine, suspend, or otherwise. Yes.
So then again, as a soccer group, we're already dealing with a crisis here. This could still impact us then, even for summer soccer, even if we got the go-ahead health-wise. CSA could come back and say, "You didn't put this in. You're not gonna be playing soccer." So I'm just concerned that we're gonna vote against it, and it's gonna fail, and then we're gonna be dealing with some bigger issue. I like the fact that everybody's brought up their concerns to take to CSA and to continue the discussion with CSA to maybe correct wording. But I'm worried about us voting on something that could stop us from playing.
Thank you, Hugh. Kohlenberg.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to clarify that, you know, from a legal standpoint, it's not really such that we read this that, you know, we go through this process and then we could still go through the court. Provincial statutes where a tribunal has been established will legally prevent you, like there's legal statutes which will prevent you from entering the courts once a tribunal, which has its own legal standing, is established. And so you see that with all kinds of kind of professional bodies and that thing where they have the legal right to discipline and regulate, and those don't go through the courts. So I just wanted to clarify first that is the case, so that there isn't a misunderstanding that the courts would potentially be an avenue. That's not necessarily the case once this is established. And then secondly, I just wanted to clarify that you know, it's a lot easier for us to upfront say, you know, we don't have a problem with arbitration inherently, but you know, we have a problem with this language and understanding what it means and having time to digest it. And I think we've got a lot stronger standing when all Saskatchewan MOs as a whole via SSA communicate that, and by their own process, you know, FIFA and the CSA subsequently down obviously favor coming to the table and discussing and mediating it before taking action. That's what their own process suggests. And so I think that our indication isn't that we want to be in bad standing. Our indication is that we want further conversations because we've got concerns. And I don't discount any work that you've done, Doug, on this over the last 4 years, but yeah, I want to acknowledge that this is coming to us now. And we're digesting this now. You know, it's not like we are engaging and conversing on this 4 years ago.
Sorry, can I jump in on that? So one of the things, one of the things that I've not jumped in on, but and not to try to discount the conversation that's going on. That's not my intent with this comment. But we have formal processes of engagement, right? And so every fall we invite the input of members into the bylaws. This year we received no amendments, but we circulate this information and ask for an in-person consultation. There was no interest shown in that. We then recirculated to membership and invited further comment and potential amendment prior to the December 19th, 15th deadline, which was the 90-day period. So I appreciate the comments now, but the time for that discussion, I guess, would have helped us if we'd have done that in the fall. And I don't have any further comment, and it's not a negative or criticism in any shape or form, but we do have fall consults so that we can have these in-depth discussions before they get to this point at the AGM. And now we've maybe lost our ability to remedy this. So thank you for that.
Hugh, I see your hands up. Any further comments or discussion? Sheldon?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Scott is saying. Like, yeah, maybe we should have discussed this earlier, but we're in a point now where we just feel like we need. I can't actually vote on this. Like, I know you're saying, Doug, that it's probably no one's going to call us on it if we don't get it done by December 2020. But that's taking your word for it, man. I need to be smart in this in terms of I can't vote for something that I can't actually fulfill. That's why I separated it. I'm not even, if people, I totally agree with the other comment where we made that one that, we don't want to disrupt soccer, but I just can't, that's why I want to separate this out just so that we're all can look at it separately, because I just can't, I can't vote on something where the wording is not something that I can fulfill. That's a big part of it. So I just want to make that clear with that part of it. That's why I separated this. Is I can't meet that obligation. Our board can't meet that obligation.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other points for discussion?
All right, Dave, I think what we're at is the understanding is to have an amendment. The first motion was to approve the amendments to the bylaws as presented. There's been a subsequent motion, which basically is to approve the bylaws as presented with the exception of 3.25, which would be dealt with separately.
Yes.
So at this point, Dave, you would call for a vote to vote on the amendment.
Okay.
And then if that passes, then we would go back to deal with the first issue, and then we would come back to vote on the second issue.
Okay, so we're gonna have a vote now to approve the amendment as written and as discussed. Can you please vote in favor by the raising of your hand? Okay.
So the amendment is carried.
Yes, it is.
So then you could go back, Dave, to the first motion, which would be the approval of the bylaws as presented with the exception of 3.25.
And we have a motion and a seconder for that, or do we need to re-motion and seconder? Sorry.
No, both still exist.
Okay. So then we'll have now call on the vote to approve the new motion as amended. Can we see the vote by raising of hands, please?
Just clarifying, this is for the for all the bylaws except for 3.25.
All the bylaws except 3.2.5. Sorry. Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
It looks.
Just ask to just double check on opposed. Have people bring their hands down.
Everybody lower their hands now, please. And all those opposed,
We have one opposed, or no?
No opposed.
Okay.
That I have.
So this motion is carried. Thank you.
And now we need to motion for the bylaw amendment to 3.2.5. Can we have somebody please make a motion on that? Thank you, Ryan.
So what,
seconder.
sorry, what, the motion is what, Ryan?
Well, the motion would be to get to the discussion part of accepting 3.2.5.
Your motion is to approve 3.25 as presented?
I think that's where we're going with this, yeah. So
Yeah.
to get
Okay.
the discussion going, yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Seconder. Thank you, Huel from Valley. Any further discussion we would like to have on this, please do so by raising your hand. I'll call you out one at a time.
All right.
Okay. No further discussion on that. So I guess can we please have you raise your hand to vote in favor of this motion?
Sorry, this is to vote to approve 3.2.5?
Yes.
That's what the motion was, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Please lower your hands, and we're gonna now ask for those opposed once all the hands are down. All the hands are down. Please raise your hand if you're opposed to 3.2.5.
Please just
Sorry for that tally in the first one. I was confused with what people were raising their hand for.
please
correct
just
now.
give us a minute to tally this up.
Thank you. Stephen, how are we doing?
Just need a minute.
Thank you. Just to be clear, we have 3 hands up in opposition, not 4.
So I think it will be good to clarify what we are voting for and what we are, just in terms of the wording, so it will be clear. Thank you.
Just to be clear, are you in favor of approving 3.25 or are you opposed? If you're opposed, raise your hand. Thank you. Say it then.
There's 49 votes in opposition.
Dave, that defeats the motion.
That motion is defeated.
Thank you.
I guess at this time, I will turn the meeting back over to the chair, Lisa.
Quick question.
Yes?
Sure.
Hello?
Yeah, sorry, Doug. What are your actions going to have to be now that this was not passed?
I'm not going to speculate on that. This will get brought to the board tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'll probably have governance committee look at that in more detail, and we'll probably go seek legal advice.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all for your time this morning.
Just another note, we do have a call of the President's Forum on Monday, which I can ask my fellow presidents if they've had any issues with this.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, at this time, sorry, Doug.
There's a hand up still, Ryan Schillingford.
I think it's just, believe it or not, it's just really good for just to say thanks to Dave for the work that he's done on this and continue it. I'm sure he'll take our concerns and run with it with him and Lisa. So thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ryan. Thanks.
All right. We will now move on to the election of directors and officers. So I'll call upon Leonard Luco again as chair of nominations to manage the elections and present the slate of candidates.
Thank you, Lisa. The role of the nominations committee is to recruit candidates for the board through an open and transparent process to ensure that board recruitment is driven by the strategic priorities of the SSA and to ensure that board composition complies with SSA's bylaws and governance policies. So we are pleased to have a very diverse and skilled list of candidates for your consideration again this year. As a result of enhancements that were made to the nomination process, we now have a more accessible nomination process, and we will be having elections for the second year in a row. I want to thank the board and the nominations committee, including Jeff Hum, David Burlock, and Milton Ramirez for their support. Kelly Rawlings also contributed prior to her nomination to the board when she withdrew from the committee. Prior to the AGM, each candidate was given the opportunity to speak for 2 minutes, and all candidates have been vetted and have met the requirements for membership. Details on the slate of candidates are included in your package. So we have one candidate running for president for the position of president. I would request a motion to approve Lisa Bagan-Lurie as president for a 2-year term by acclamation. And I have a motion from Sheldon Matthews and seconder Michael Jakubiak from Yorkton. I'll invite discussions or questions. Stephen?
I'd just like to make a quick comment. Those of you who are voting delegates, you'll be receiving your links to vote in the second portion of the Board of Directors vote. Please do not access those links until we reach that point.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. See no further hands up. I'll ask for all in favor of this motion. Do so by raising your hands. I think that's everybody. Could you lower your hands now? And I'll ask for those opposed to the motion. Okay, anyone opposed, keep your hands up now. Seeing none, the motion is carried. Thank you. I will now call for the vote. The second motion. So SSA has contracted the services of Election Buddy, a Canadian company located in Edmonton, Alberta, that has managed thousands of online elections for a variety of organizations, including not-for-profits, to manage the election of the SSA Board of Directors. Election Buddy will aid in managing the creation of the election, and to ensure complete confidentiality will manage the tally and distribution of the election results. A number of the SSA staff as well as board members took part in a trial of the Election Buddy software, and we are confident the utilization of the software will allow us to conduct the election with complete integrity while also being easy to use. So this has already been done. Each organization has selected an authorized voting delegate, which will carry the entire weighted vote of their member organization. That list has been added to the Election Buddy software, and we will call the roll to ask each member to confirm that they've received a link that identifies the appropriate vote totals for their member organization as per block voting processes. The link will only provide members one opportunity to exec the appropriate voting totals they are eligible for according to the bylaws. The link is not transferable and can only be used once. So I'm going to ask for a motion right now to approve the election process to be managed through the Election Buddy software service, who will manage the vote and announce the results, and that the 2020 election for 5 director positions be held through a single voting process, with the 5 candidates achieving the highest total votes achieving a 2-year term, and the 2 candidates with the lowest total votes not being elected to the board. So I see a bunch of hands up.
Go to the top.
So Jesse Schwartz from Humboldt has made that motion, and Dale Perry, so Swift Current, is the seconder. Can I ask you to lower your hands now? And is there any discussion on this process? Seeing none, I would ask for a vote to approve this motion. All in favor, raise your hands. Okay, it looks like everybody, please lower your hands. I'll ask for Are any opposed to this motion? Sheldon, are you opposed, or do you still have your hand up?
Okay.
No opposed, the motion is carried.
Porter, you want to jump in?
I'll now call for the roll call in alphabetical order. So, Porter, it's up to you.
Okay, do you want me to take the screen or just do it verbally? Verbally is probably okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Kat Huxley from Battleford Youth, do you have your link?
I do have my link.
And your total votes indicated in the email?
Yep.
Sorry, what is the number?
7.
Okay, that's correct. Next, Estevan Youth and Mini Soccer, Stacy Murphy, do you have your email?
No, I don't have anything yet.
Come back.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Next, Humboldt and District Soccer Association, Jesse Schwartz, do you have your email?
Yes, I do.
And your indicated votes?
So Porter, maybe just for ease of purpose, what we want you to confirm is that you have your email and speak up if you have incorrect vote totals. If you do not speak up, we will assume you have the correct totals.
Okay.
Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Kindersley Soccer, Cheryl McGrath, do you have your link?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Lloydminster and District Soccer, Jordan Lavely,
Yes, I do.
thank you. Meadow Lake and District Youth Soccer, Raylan Gilroyd, do you have your link?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Meridian Youth, Kevin Wagner, do you have your link?
Yes.
Thank you. Moose Jaw Soccer Association, Jordan Jeffrey, do you have your link?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Prince Albert Youth Soccer, Namdi Dubuka, do you have your link?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. QC United, Chris Bailey, do you have your link?
Sorry, I had to unmute there. Just a clarification, you mean the link actually from Election Buddy?
Yeah, you should have
Like
just
that
received
email
it.
you referred to?
Yeah.
I haven't received that.
Okay, I'll come back to you.
Just keep refreshing, yeah.
Okay. Quappel Valley Soccer, Daniel Moore, do you have your link?
I have something from
Sorry,
soccer, but it doesn't tell me how many. It has a link to Election Buddy.
sorry, your mic's kind of cutting out. Can you
Do
say that
you
again,
have
please?
do you have an email from Election Buddy?
Oh,
Check your junk.
no.
It
I
might-
have one
it-
from Sask Soccer Association.
It might be addressed from us because we're the.
No, I have one from, well, it does have, like, it says it's from Sask Soccer and it has a link to Election Buddy, but it doesn't say how many votes I have.
Okay.
It says to vote, visit secure.electionbuddy, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't, and when I click on that, it doesn't, it just says sign in to vote. But it doesn't say how many votes.
Okay, the emails should all be exactly the same because they're coming from Election Buddy. And Kat had her number on there, so I'm not really sure.
Well, we'll carry on. So right now that was Estevan, QCU, and sorry, where were we?
That
Quappel
was
Valley?
Quappel.
Okay.
So FCR, Ryan Schillingford, do you have your link? You raised your hand. I'm assuming that means you have it. Saskatoon Adult Soccer, Sheldon Matthews, do you have your link?
Yeah, I have my link, but like the other person, it doesn't say in the one I just received, it doesn't say that how many votes, but you did tell me, you sent me an email yesterday that did tell me.
Correct.
Just to clarify, you have to log in to see your votes. You have to log in with the email and password that Steven sent yesterday. You won't be able to see your votes if you don't log in to the election body.
No, I've logged in and I'm there, and it doesn't tell me any number.
A few people have said that the email yesterday included the number of votes with your login and password.
Yeah, I received it there, but just not in the email today. So it's fine. I'm just making sure you're aware. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Saskatoon Futsal League, Thiago Prado, do you have your link?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Saskatoon Youth, Mark Millard, do you have your link?
I have the link, but I've got the same issue. I can't log in because I don't know what the password is.
That would be in the email I sent you yesterday.
Really?
If you can't find it, I can give you your password too. We'll just finish this up first.
Please.
Swift Current Soccer Association, Dale Perry, do you have your link? Dale?
Hello, yeah, received, but I have the same issue. I was just checking. I don't have a password from yesterday's email.
Okay, the email I sent replied to me confirming that it had been received, so I don't know.
Well, I received the email, but there wasn't a password there.
It's in the body of the email. It will say your password is.
Okay, I'll check it again.
Okay. TD Soccer, Peter Morris, do you have your link?
Yes, we have the link. Thank you.
Thank you. Valley Soccer, Cam Hooley, do you have your link?
I have the link and I logged in, but I've nowhere have I seen my delegate, how many votes I have.
Okay. Sounds like that's been the same with everyone.
Are we through the list, Porter?
No, two more. Weyburn Soccer, Jason Roy, do you have your link?
Yes, I have my link.
Yorkton United, Michael Jakubiak, do you have your link?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'm circling back to Estevan Youth Soccer. Stacy Murphy, did you receive your link?
I did, yes, thank you.
Thank you. And Prince Albert Youth Soccer, Namdi, have you received your link yet?
Yeah, I did, and I voted.
Okay, that should be everyone. Just want to clarify, you're going to have to confirm your vote and then submit it. So you're going to have to hit confirm twice.
And Stephen, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. If
Okay.
anyone does not know their password, please tell me now.
Was there any problems with QC or Capel still?
I just have a question. Like, it still doesn't tell me how many votes, but I'm in there. I'm ready to vote. Do we choose two? Like, how do we do this?
You would choose 5 of 7. There's 5 candidates.
5 of 7.
Okay. Yeah, we're electing 5 of 7.
So again, if you're going to select on your list, there's 5 of 7. You select 5, take a look at it. If you're satisfied, then you have to go to the next step, which is confirm. Once you confirm, you cannot withdraw or amend. Are we ready?
It's Chris. It's Chris at QC here. I still don't have a link.
Okay.
From Election Buddy.
Okay.
I just keep refreshing the email, but I'm not getting anything. So.
Okay, I will send.
I've got my password on all that stuff from you, Steve. But.
Okay.
Can you check your junk mail?
Yeah.
I should be able to send you the link.
So we'll just give it a second then.
Yeah.
Dale Perry, do you still need your password resent to you?
No, I found it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we still waiting for clarification on Queen City? Or are we good to start?
I still haven't got anything. QC.
Stephen might be working on this right now, so he might have gone quiet.
Okay.
Okay.
He's on the phone with the election buddy person. It sounds like he's getting the link forwarded to him and he will forward it to you, Chris.
Okay, thank you.
Just while we're waiting, I'm just going to clarify that you're selecting 5 of the 7 candidates. You will not be allowed to select more than 5.
Okay.
So Chris, I've just sent you the link. Let me know if you receive it.
Just got, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just got it.
Thank you.
Okay. So just bear with me there.
So I believe that's everyone now. We start the time for the election now. Porter, are we okay to start the vote?
Yeah, I believe some people have started voting, which is fine. So anyone who hasn't completed the process can go ahead and do that now.
Okay.
So just to clarify, I think we'll get notice from Election Buddy as soon as the elections are completed. But if not, we'll break for at least 10 minutes while we get the votes and wait for the results to come back. So if anybody needs to step out for a minute, do so quickly and come back, and we'll be ready to, we're just waiting for the results to come from Election Buddy as the next step.
So everyone will have a maximum of 20 minutes, but if everyone has voted, we will be notified and the election will be over. So we'll get notification of once everyone's done voting.
So I've received the email from Election Buddy with the 5 individuals who have won. I would request that I can share my screen here.
Go ahead, Porter.
Okay, just give me 1 second.
Yep.
Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Not,
Not the details.
Now?
Yes.
So these are the 5 names I received from Election Buddy.
Lisa?
okay. I've got them.
Okay, do you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, I think we're good. So I'd like to thank, I'm pleased to announce the following directors elected to the board: Ratan Bahia, Andrew Kitchen, Dave Misko, Steve Patton, and Kelly Rawlings. I would like to thank Janelle Layton and Derek Myers for letting their name stand for re-election and thanking them for applying for the board. And I'd also like to thank Marianne Schneider, who did not seek re-election this year. And with that, the election is concluded. And I'll turn the meeting back over to Lisa.
Thanks very much, Leonard, and thanks very much to membership for bearing with us as we get through this election process. I know this is unprecedented times, and I think that went well. I do want to reiterate my sincere thanks to Janelle Layton and Derek Myers for their contributions this past year. And I'd like to welcome Ratan, Andrew, and Steve to the board, as well as welcoming back Dave and Kelly. Thanks very much, everybody, for getting through that election process. So the business of the AGM is now complete. I again want to thank everybody for their attendance today. At this time, I'll ask for a mover to adjourn the meeting. And I have Ryan moving that. I do not need a seconder. Again, I'll invite everybody to stick around for our discussions, which will begin in 5 minutes time. Thanks very much.